Gambia government to enhance the expansion of technical and vocational skills centers across the country. Kenyan farmers to use organic farm products to enhance their harvests. And Tunisian NGOs warn families of irregular migrants against child trafficking. This and more coming up. Hello, and this is the World Today newscast with me, Mariama Chan. Thanks for joining us. And now the news in detail. Now, most of the skilled workers here in the Gambia are foreigners, and their dominant is massive. Now, from carpentry to welding to auto mechanic, you name it. It's either the Nigerian or the Senegalese doing it. Now, this total dependency on foreigners for these essential services has raised concern of sustainability and our independence as a nation. So the Gambia government wants to slowly put an end to this, and through the Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology will now spearhead a drive to bring technology and vocational education and training to doorsteps of many Gambians. Now, details of that in this report by Mafuji Sise.
We all depend on skilled workers to either make or fix our broken stuff. Here in the Gambia, the vast majority of skilled workers one finds along the road sides are foreigners. They are either Senegalese or Nigerians. There are few Gambians in these domains, which is why the government wants to put more emphasis on technical and vocational education and training, otherwise known as TVET. Speaking recently at the graduation of young Gambian journalists, the Higher Education Minister, Professor Pierre Gomez, revealed plans to regionalize TVET across the country. He says the government is doing everything possible to include the country's only skills training center, the GTTI, to be part of the University of the Gambia and create more openings for young Gambians.
Mohas considers technical and vocational education and training, TVET, as essential for its positive impact in harnessing the youth dividend and improving employability for sustainable economic development. There is a new paradigm shift in TVET based on the ministry's transformation agenda. Currently, USET, that is the University of Applied Science and Technology, is up and running, preparing to produce homegrown engineers for the very first time in the history of this country.
This is Mr. Mbai Gay at work. He is Senegalese, but has spent most of his life here in the Gambia, where he learned his welding skills after first completing his Quranic education. He tells Eyeafrica that training for skilled work can be hard, but with patience and dedication, one could become a professional. Those two qualities of patience and dedication, he says, is what is missing in a lot of Gambians. He goes on to say that for some reason, apprentices who are eager to start earning money simply down their tools and leave on their own accord to start their enterprises even before they have been cleared by their masters. This, he says, usually leads to sometimes fight with customers due to poor quality jobs done by these semi-professionals.
waaye nag li ma lay dénk mooy Gambien yi boppam xale yi nañ jàng métier.
As a final word, what I want to leave with you is that let governments allow their children to learn skilled work. If you go to Senegal, you find that every child, no matter how young, is encouraged to learn one skill or the other, and their bosses also encourage them. If the kid fail to appear for 1 or 2 days, they go to their homes to inquire as to what the problem is. If the child is a doctor, the parents will sort out the issue. But if children are left all by themselves, then their future may be complicated.
yow moom mën ngaa res bopp waaye moom ak mujjam moom kenn xamut.
Zakaria Suare is Gambian and elder. He was keen to tell Eyeafrica that there is a slow change in perception now as more and more Gambians are taking on skilled work. He even boasts of having apprentices that are university graduates.
My name is Zakaria Suare. I love welding work. Since I was a child, I enrolled in school for a few years, but my mind was always into welding, than on formal schooling. I have been in this profession for many years. I was taught welding by Mr. Bubakar at the Gambia Technical Training Institute. He is now retired, but I am praying that he has a long life and that he may be blessed. Many people have passed through the hands of Mr. Babukar Bayo, and from what he has shown us, we are also now showing it to the young ones. We are willing to teach anyone who wishes to take welding as his or her career, just as the way Mr. Bayo taught us. I am calling on young people to strive and work hard to enter technical vocational education or skills training. It is not easy, but one has to have a career through which one's family may benefit. I have lots of apprentices here, and some are even going to school. Some of them come to the workshop when they close from school and stay up to 7 in the evening, whilst others that are going to the afternoon shift will come in the morning. Some have this notion that office workers earn more money, but in reality, earnings from skilled work are hidden, but much more than office work. What the skilled worker can get within a day, the one working in the office cannot earn the same even in 15 days. And what the skilled worker can spend within a day, the one in the office cannot do the same. What the skilled worker can contribute to society, family, and close relations, it's a lot. This is the best job ever that all and sundry should yearn for, and far better than office work, which is based on luck. Many people have gone to school but cannot find work for themselves. We are calling on all to come and learn skills. I am calling on the young people to venture into skilled work. It is the way for self-employment. Some of my students here have university degrees, but they are here with me to have welding skills as well. This will only be an added advantage in their lives.
Man daal maa ngi ñaan ndaw yi nañ dugg ci métier waaw ak métier bu mu nekk nañ ko lifin buñ ne seen ne lii rek mooy am xaalis wala lii rek métier moom foo dugg rek boo ci farloo rek yàlla na la ci jàppal waaw.
As at present, Zakaria has well over 20 apprentices. He hopes more and more young Gambians will take interest in skilled work and contribute their quota to national development. Mafuji Sise, Eyeafrica News.
The Gambia government there to spearhead a drive to bring technical and vocational education to the doorsteps of every Gambian. Now we will now visit Kenya as farmers are opting for organic farm inputs to improve the quality and safety of their products while also taking care of the environment. Now many are now beginning to use a biofertilizer which is made from organic waste. As many of these farmers may not understand the contribution of their practice to climate change, experts believe there is a need to get them enlightened so they may adopt climate-smart methods. Details of that in this report.
Stephen Kariuki Mutoi uses biofertilizer to boost his crop yields instead of conventional chemical fertilizer. The 33-year-old from Nakuru in Kenya's Rift Valley prides himself as a certified organic farmer.
It means cultivating or growing foods without external inputs which are harmful to the soil, to the environment, to animals or to human beings.
He says biofertilizers help in ensuring food safety as well as mitigating against climate change. While chemical fertilizer releases greenhouse gases into the air, biofertilizer does the opposite. It traps gases like carbon dioxide in the soil.
Carbon is meant to be retained in the soil and down here, as opposed to being released. So the carbon being released in the air is what causes the issues of climate change. So the essence is to retain as much as possible the carbon in the soil.
Muthoi discovered biofertilizers after he met Mildred Day, a manufacturer of the eco-friendly input. Day works with a group of women in making the best out of Nakuru County's waste organic matter. At her compost site, the organic matter takes months to fully process. The process entails layering of different types of waste from animal, farm and residential organic waste. It is also fortified with nutrients to help make a rich mix.
At the county market, we have 2,000 traders. And by collecting that waste, we're able to create clean environment for them to trade. And also intercepting that waste from being taken to the landfill, we prevent methane emissions.
Day says her fertilizers are climate smart.
Most of our farmers use rain-fed agriculture. And because of the climate change effects, we have less rainfall than normal. So we have had declining productivity in the farms. So when they use organic fertilizer, it has high water retention ability. So they're able to continue having high production despite the climate change effects.
More farmers are adopting climate-smart agriculture to cushion against drought, floods and rising temperatures. Back at Muthoi's farm, his crops are flourishing. He says biofertilizers give him an edge over other farmers who are yet to discover his ways.
From Kenyan farmers using organic farm inputs for quality products to Nigeria's interbank settlement system, which shows that within a year, the volume of financial transactions through mobile devices has more than doubled in the country. Now, the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 compelled many Nigerians to embrace cashless forms of payments, and since then, there has been no layoff of the number of people adopting mobile transactions. So, according to the analysis data, its volume increased by 150.8% to 66.7 million in August 2022 from 26.6 million in the same period of 2021. Let's hear details of that in this report.
For about 2 years now, businessman Bisong Otinye says virtually all of his business transactions have gone cashless. A banking app on his smartphone is now the major means through which he pays and receives money for almost anything he buys and sells.
It makes me do my business faster. Take for instance, I travel sometimes ago and a client called me on phone. I needed to do business. And I wasn't here in Lagos. All I did was call this, connect to that. And we did all this on transfer. He transferred to me, I transferred to the other person, and the person make the supply. So it's easy for me.
It's that ease, convenience and speed that is driving the rapid growth of mobile transactions in the country. The latest Nigeria interbank settlement system data revealed mobile inter-scheme transactions in the country grew by a whopping 153% year-on-year in the first 9 months of 2022.
It's an indication that more and more Nigerians are embracing the electronic platform. And it's also an indication that the cashless policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria is gaining traction.
The outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 compelled many Nigerians to embrace cashless forms of payments. And since then, there's been no let-off in the number of people adopting mobile transactions. Commercial banks in the country have cashed on, as most of the mobile transactions are conducted through their apps.
Every day, the banks try and make improvements in what they're doing, make it faster, make it easier, make it more seamless.
Beyond driving its cashless policy, the Central Bank of Nigeria is also hoping the growing adoption of mobile forms of payments will ultimately help it achieve financial inclusion. It's counting on its digital currency, the e-Naira, which is also another form of electronic payment platform, to help pull the unbanked into the formal financial system.
Nigeria witnessing a record high in the volume of financial transactions through mobile devices. We'll take us to a quick break and we'll be back with more news. Stay with us.
TAF Africa Global wale la estate kuto fenali Gambia banko kang ikafa dami ye TAF City. TAF City dung be lori ngali gunjur nin sifo sila balaka. Miniti tan sabakata na airport Bumbato ikafa dami ye Banjul International Airport. Nyen TAF City mu estate wolti mi yalonko esa sabatinoje ye bayimbayingo keje tulundula kende ba puru na dimbayal anda bekela estate mi yalanko hada medungo sula ko mu fongo fende kataratara dula kendo to abebo sona ya lali jele tafsi estate ol bungol hakko tatal fo bumbuli lulu anda la fano hakko tatal fo Banjul la fano sidula fula hakko kono afo mi 500 hectares. TAF City ba lori ngale lodu la kendo laka bunyi ma bal anin da diarim bal le batara la leje diskanto batara la mo tan lulu folo le min ba bunga sanaje diskanto min tata fo 20% nin ku mu sidula muang sidula keme hakko kono mbadi talana office Bumbato min ba Madiba Mall bu Food Gardens estate kono wala yenna telephone bundal kumandi memu +220 7762 wala on +220 3762 333 hani kabing email info@tafafricaglobal.com. Ala baraka.
Under the auspices of the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, the Muslim World League, in collaboration with the Gambia government, will host the Conference of African Religious Ministers and Ulamas on the 6th of December 2022. The International Islamic Conference will bring together ministers of religious affairs, leading Islamic scholars, policymakers, youths, community leaders across Africa to discuss and advance Islamic values that promote peace and tolerance. Let's come together and welcome our brothers and sisters in keeping with our trademark hospitality as the smiling coast of Africa. This message is brought to you by the ministry responsible for religious affairs in collaboration with the Gambia OIC Secretariat.
kignin jangiro kurumba bega bagu jamane kedi aga lemunu lagana anga tulanta ganya man toran pogore ngale minanga bega yonkinga to kadi Gambia iren kunne keni jangiro ay anga tunanti anga na pare na makan kutonuntu nan chobari nan tawale mininga lemineke no ngure nyana daga na anani hichene tanji mporo ga na Kenya kita mananya anta tanji mekita manu gunne kenanyi mulamba ganini mananyi teguno mafiba nanye kuma kan kutonu kundanga na talle minenga ambada ga manyanga sobino gonde annat nanti kendi ara huwa mini ma shirop no benu anga nanti ga sobari nanti chemical no nyani no gonde Kenya ndake watte kinyale mununga ken gondi wa asunya marni anga nanti sare garu wandire mu ko benu ma igi goronini igana sobi community le mununga ina nguru kata jare kabe etindodengia ina mpate baka etongondi saharunga kendi hakanna menjwa ina senoen kai idu maga ganaji dingiran jwa sare garunde ara wandi korni le munu iwi nyamar ni nanti magaraga syrup no kobo promethazine oral suspension BP kendo Cofex Malin baby syrup kendo Macof baby syrup kendo Magrib and Col syrup angana la khibaram pogulenga ke watebe ga duranga ni kundu ikhiri kengani 1025 ke message kundu ma ke khibar sebe no ga rotanga ni Kenya ni ministry mpolla khimara ngandi yonki changa ado kubenu ga saharim pinun tanganenga jamane ken gondi igara demandira kita baka World Health Organization kengani WHO.
Welcome back from that break. If you're just joining us, this is the World Today newscast, and now to more stories. Volunteer doctors working with Tunisian and European NGOs have reported suspected cases of organ trafficking. This has prompted both NGOs to warn families to protect children and guarantee their health instead of risking their lives in the Mediterranean Sea. Now, since 2020, irregular migration from and through Tunisia has surged. Tens of thousands of Tunisian and foreign migrants have embarked from the country's source to an attempt to reach Europe. Let's hear more of that in this report.
Suspicions of organ trafficking have been reported by volunteer doctors who work for Tunisian and European NGOs after the repatriation of the remains of Tunisian irregular migrants over the past 2 years.
The number of candidates for irregular migration has skyrocketed, while the number of sea and land routes are limited and unsafe. Families no longer hesitate to risk their lives. Children are often trapped. All smuggling of organs and child trafficking occurs during irregular migration attempts inside the Schengen space.
The Observatory of the Forum for Economic and Social Rights, which specializes in migration issues, warns that undocumented migrants, including children, are the target of criminal networks throughout Europe.
Once they reach Europe, undocumented migrants, including women and children, live in poor conditions. They are exposed to more danger. Many are pushed by criminal groups into drug trafficking and sexual exploitation. The hellish experience does not end on European soil. It rather gets worse.
Valentina Zagaria is an Italian researcher who documents the flows of irregular migrants in the Mediterranean basin, Africa and Europe. Zagaria blames European countries for pushing back child migrants at the borders.
It is a fact that Europe makes it very difficult to access its territory legally. The only people who are not sent back to Tunisia are minors and kids. It's illegal to deport them. That is why irregular migrants are younger. Europe's restrictions are behind the surge in migrant children trafficking.
Tunisian and European activists have called on authorities and families to protect children and guarantee them the right to health and education, instead of pushing them to risk their lives in the central Mediterranean Sea route. The stretch of the Mediterranean Sea between North Africa and Italy is one of the main migratory routes to Europe. Local NGOs are urging the Tunisian government to exchange information with Libya, another main crossing point, and Italy on suspicions of child trafficking and organ smuggling.
Tunisian authorities there warn families to protect children and guarantee their health instead of risking their lives in the Mediterranean Sea. Now, Uganda's Bureau of Statistics reports that its domestic inflation hit double digits for the first time in a decade, rising to 10% in September from 2.7% in January 2022. Now, the Bureau said the closest Uganda's inflation bounces to current level was in the August 2012. Now, businessmen and women are lamenting that their goods may end up perishing as there are no customers to buy them. Details in this report.
Hussein Kato deals in fruits and vegetables, but he's worried that his produce could go to waste because the buyers are few.
People have decided not to spend on some products they believe they can forego. This is affecting us as traders.
Ugandan consumers say the cost of living is getting out of hand, and they need a lot more money to buy just a few goods.
A kilogram of beef costs $7. Our currency has lost value.
According to Uganda's Central Bank, the escalating prices of fuel and food are largely to blame for the current inflationary pressures. The situation has been worsened by the Russia-Ukraine crisis, which has interrupted supply chains.
There's likelihood that inflation is going to rise in the near term further, and that's why Bank of Uganda has been very, very aggressive in terms of tightening liquidity conditions to mitigate that from materializing.
The central bank says inflation is expected to peak in the next 24 months due to ongoing geopolitical tensions, adverse weather effects on crops, associated supply chain disruptions.
Next year, 2023, is going to be anywhere between 8 and 10% before coming down eventually to 5% in 2024. The delayed bringing down inflation to 5% is reflective of the conditions I've just described.
This means traders like Kato will have to struggle to keep their businesses afloat. Uganda says it has no capacity to tame inflationary pressures fueled by external factors, but it hopes through tightening the monetary policy, it will return inflationary rates to single digits.
Uganda's Bureau of Statistics report showing the country's domestic inflation hitting the double digits for the first time in a decade brings us to the end of this edition of the World Today newscast. For more news, you can visit our social media handles on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Eyeafrica TV. I am Yahya Jammeh. Thanks for watching and do have a good evening.